Wow, it is flying by. I have to scroll all the way to 10. Okay, so in week 10, we are going to do another problem within the problem set one for relating. So we're still on multi-table relating concepts for writing queries. And then in week 11, we're going to do another one. This will be our last problem set for relating. And then after spring break, so between week 11 and week 12 is when spring break happens, and then we're back, and then you will have designing part one, and I will have that ready before you head out. Not that you have to work during break. I know I'm not. I'm actually traveling. Okay, let's scroll back up to week 10 then and check out attendance. So at this point, technical interviews signups have started, and I may have a couple of these this week actually because I'm recording at the beginning of week 8. I don't know yet, but the thing I'd want you to know is that in that sign up, it is a view required, but not you don't have to submit. So if you happen to go in there and didn't submit your dates, you can move forward. I just want you to keep in your mind that the sooner you sign up, the better. And then this is what I was talking about. And then I do want to say a word about Discord is that I want to reiterate something that I said at the beginning of the semester, which I know it must seem like forever ago, but Discord, our Discord server that some of you are on, is for student to student communication. If you want to talk to myself or to Brianna, that's really done in the inbox. And that's because I am mandated and she is mandated to actually have the campus have a system that you can track for our communication. So, not that we wouldn't reply out there if we have the ability, but I want you to know the intent of that is for student to student. Okay. And this is what I just said about the fact that this is our last, after the next one. Next week will be our last one. And then we move on to designing, which is going to be an interesting topic in this data set that we're going to talk about today. All right, so for week 10, we're problem set one, continuing, we're doing the DCSE. So I have the instructions set here, and then I'm going to give you a query to attempt. Now, the next thing is a solution, but do not look at the solution until you've done it because you earn points from doing the proof of work, the proof of output, and the correct query output as well. Now, in this case, this is where kind of like what we do in regular problem set work. Sooner you submit, if you didn't get it, the more quickly I can give you help. But there is help because you can look at it. But remember, 50 points from that. And then what you're going to reply to once you go through this work is you're going to tell us your experience of attempting the problem and any questions you have regarding this new data set. So that's worth 30 points. And then a substantive reply. Okay, so let's move over to the instructions. So like almost every problem set we've done in CS50, we're going to use their database, but not their problems, okay? So in week 10, your setup is you're going to set up a folder, and then inside of that, inside that folder, which we already have from last time, you're going to set up at the same level you did packages, you're setting up DCSE, okay? So in this case, let me just show you what this looks like because this is an important thing, is that under problem set one, right? So you click there, that's where you do folder, okay? New folder. I haven't been doing that because I've been hoping that you all have gotten it, but I had somebody ask me, I thought, okay, I'll do it this time. Just know how to do these folders at the right level. So every problem set, every major topic is at a new level. Okay, so then in PS1, your DSE, then what you're going to do, and you can see this, we've done this before. Now I'm going to move past this and come back to it. You're going to grab that new database. Remember, what's important about that is being in this directory, right? Making sure you're here so when you copy it. And by the way, we did have the Git Ignore update a couple weeks back so that our databases should not go into GitHub because they just don't need to. Okay, so having done all that, now you copy a previous query into the DCSQ-Q and copy the previous query and remove any queries in the file and update the bash. So now in your DCSE-Q.tables.schema, typical, right? Then code a query for listing the first 10 records of each table. So I'd already done this. So let me just show you, right? So in this case, right, we have tables, queries, right? So if we, and then we output to here, let me make sure I said that up here. Yeah. So you output the proof of work file here, right? So in here, here is the output. Okay, so we can see for this data set, we have districts, graduation rates, staff evaluation, expenditures, and schools. Now, I think what's helpful, and that's why I provided you the link in here, is to actually go over to CS50 and look at the schema. Okay, so this is the, let's see, who is this? The State of Mass with Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Okay, so this database has the following ERD entity relationship diagram. So we have districts contain schools. Schools contain graduation rates. Okay. Districts make expenditures and districts receive staff evaluations. Now, a critical thing is there's a couple critical things in here that I definitely want you to think about. One is spending a little time looking at each of the table and what the column indicate, what it is used for, right? What it indicates, its type, right? Its name, its city for the districts, because districts is at the top. Everything flows from it. Okay. Schools, graduation rates. Now I just dropped these down to how to look at them, right? Now, one thing about this database, anytime you're starting a new database, there's always something different about it. But in this case, there's something actually kind of inefficient about it. You might cleverly note that some of the relationships could have been implemented with a single table. You'd be correct, though in this case, you simply have to work with what your colleagues at DCSE created. And I like this in this sense is that when you're working in a professional environment, there's going to be databases that people create that aren't going to be the best designed. And by the way, guess what our next major topic is designing databases. And it is such a great skill to be introduced to and to grow in your mastery of, because the ability to create databases, the more efficient they are, and there's actually rules that we can apply to them, the better and easier it is to extract data from them. Okay, so I'd spend a little time looking at that. Okay, so that's where you do your 10 records. And now I'd come back and look at these. Now here's my schema, right? So I can see my foreign keys. Okay, good. My evaluations all flow, so you can see this, right? So then here's my data, right? So here's the districts. So this is kind of sometimes like, here's my district, like this would be the SCCCD, right? Type is just a public school, district community, state community college, right? So this says charter district. That's an interesting one we'll come back to. Okay, and then the city, state, zip. So then you can see graduation rates. Okay, so now well, this is going to be part of our attempt. So it might be interesting to go look at where graduation record rates sit. It's down here. Okay, so to get to graduation rates, how do we get there? So think about that for a minute. Back here, right? So and then we have self-evaluation, staff evaluations, and then we have expenditures in schools. Now under schools, each individual school, they also have a type, but that's a type of school it is versus a district charter. Okay, so that district, the whole thing is a charter district. Okay. Okay, so some are public, some are charter. I think that's the only type. I don't remember if there were others in there. All right, so now that you've now again is a benefit to playing around with the data a little bit before you get started, or at least spending some time reading over here and looking at what's in the database. So now once you do that, now update your your query file to change to proof of work, right? So if we were to come up here, look at my query file, right? I would change this to W10 before I started the next one, which by the way, you do have a commit there. So make sure you do that commit for new data set. So now what you're going to do is create a README file heading to an attendance problem, right? So I already have mine up. Here we go. Backtick. So this is your proof of work. So remember, when you're starting, definitely this is your proof of work. This is where you get points for your effort. You're showing me the effort that you're putting into writing these. And this is the more detail, the better. And the more I see your logic flow, the better. Okay. So now, before we get into the problem, I want to review the work flow loop because I actually went back to Cyber Chase and I remembered what I did there, and I thought I'm going to do it for this one as well, since there's multiple queries that we have in here. And I'll come back to the problem in a minute. So let's come down here. So when you when you do start working on the DCSE problem, you will change the proof of work. Okay, and you have 6 problems that you're going to do, and then for each one, you create that same heading in there. So this is the loop. So the loop is you may type your best guess query on the terminal. Now, some of you, and this is fine, are actually doing it in your query file. There's nothing wrong with that. Ultimately, it's got to end up down here for you to run it. So wherever you're comfortable, as long as you're running it. And now let's talk about, remind ourselves about what happens is a failure or a verify. So if you get an error, right? Because you will. Matter of fact, you will see me once you get to the solution what errors I got. Okay, and then so you stop, don't clear the screen, select it, copy it into your backticks. Really important, these backticks need to go there. Okay, so back here, right? So and that's called a code block that's inside of there. If you get wrong data, right? Because remember, for this one, you actually have a validation step. I'll go over that in a minute, right? Then only give me a few rows. Don't give me the whole thing. It just makes, all I'm really looking for is your logic flow and what your effort was here. And then paste that in. If so, just give me a few records if you got data, but it was not right. And then refine, right? Do that again, right? And then once you get a final one, then you copy that working SQL file into your Q file, your query file, right? For the official solution, you do your proof of work, then you do your commit. So your commit would be each problem. And then before moving to the next one, you comment out the query, right? Comment out the query you wrote, add the dash, right? And then repeat. Now, these are the problems below here, okay? These are the ones that you're going to start working on for Thursday night. And I will tell you, like normal, I do give a break if you do 1, 2, and 3. But I also want to tell you at the very bottom, after the way I grade, which by the way, your proof of effort is 40 points, I do give hints for success. Now, I don't give it for this first one because I kind of go over it here. But here are just some things that might give you a heads up as you're looking at these, just on some of them that might be a little more challenging. Okay, so now let's go look at the problem for attendance. So for attendance, here's the problem that you need to write a query to answer. Find the average dropout rate for all schools located in districts categorized by charter districts. Okay, so I would go over here and I would go, okay, now where in this would be the average drop rate? And that's where I'd go look at my file, my output. And I would just look through here to say, is there one of these? Oh, there is. There's a drop in the graduation rates. Okay. And the graduation rates I see has a school ID. And if I remember, based on looking at this, that's right. So in order to write this query, I'm going to have to, and this is what I'm going to recommend doing a join here, is to join 3 tables together. Okay? So that's your hint for that one. So that's first, is that you're going to have now. And also the other thing is, remember when I showed you identifiers? So as an example, right? Let's see, if I was to connect just to, let's see, the district has an ID, right? Okay, and it is also it's listed here, or not here. Let me go. I was looking for schools. I was looking for schools. Oh, it's listed after staff, expenditure, schools. So we have a district ID here. So this is where when you get that ID issue, that means you are trying to join two tables that have the same column, and that's where using identifiers is really, really helpful. Okay. The other thing is, remember that here the district has a type that's a district, charter district, and the problem is asking you for schools located in districts organized as charter districts. Okay, so that's your hint. This is actually what the output should look like. Matter of fact, I'll even give, and this actually is what the answer, if you got it right, will look like. Okay. All right. So now what you're going to do that once you attempt that, right? Then what you want to do is I've already told you what you want on the reply. Okay. So then you can watch the solution. You do need to update with commit changes needed if they were needed, unless you got the right answer, which is awesome. But either way, this is where you're getting used to the differences in this data set than in the packages that has been in the cyber chase. So every time we change data sets, you spend a little time getting used to them. Okay, I'll talk to you later. And there won't be a video for, so the next one will be the solution, and then this attendance video will also serve as the overview for the problem set itself. I'm just going to roll down and show you, so that won't have a video for it, FYI. All right, have a good one. Reach out for help if you need it.